You
All
recording?
right, we are live. We are live. So, welcome, everyone. This is Sharon, your retirement coach diva, and today we have the Royal Nugget podcast, and I am delighted to have my guest with us, Mr. Rashad Carmichael. And Mr. Carmichael has multiple talents, a lot of different avenues he does with his business. But tonight we're going to be talking about health insurance and life insurance. And I know there are a lot of federal employees out there who are looking at these premiums that they've been paying recently and like, wow, they are getting expensive. And what should I keep? What shouldn't I keep? Well, Mr. Rashad's not going to talk about that. But what he will talk about is what he offers and how he might be able to supplement what you already have. So, welcome, Rashad, to the Royal Nugget. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for
Good,
having me.
good. I'm so grateful and glad that you are here with us today. And as we get started, we want to just learn a little bit about you because you have an extensive background. I know you started as an engineer, as a young man, but tell us about how you went into the field of insurance and the different things that you do. I know we're going to talk about insurance, but I know we could just touch on a couple of things that you do in addition to insurance.
Okay. So what's your question?
Just tell us about you. Tell us how you got to where you are.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Rashad Carmichael. Started off, if we're gonna say how I got to where I'm at, started in college. I graduated from university, and after university, I have a computer science degree. Went to graduate school and started in business classes for MBA. Finished a year in business courses, for my MBA. Then I stopped. I started a real estate company after I had a year in business school. Started investing in a lot of real estate as an owner, as a landlord. And then I used that success. I'm still an investor and a landlord, but I took that success and the money that I made fresh out of college buying real estate, and I started a real estate brokerage. I also started a mortgage brokerage, and I started an insurance brokerage. So these things didn't happen, like right when I got out of college, but my first money came from real estate, and I used my real estate funds and my success in real estate. I also teach real estate courses and teach investors how to acquire real estate. So I use that money in my investment capital to start my real estate broker license and assist people with purchasing real estate and assisting them with financial education, because the house is the biggest expense that most Americans have. So I like to focus on that because that's what made me successful. And then I just wanted to have other businesses. I saw how successful I was. I saw how I like to say live instead of survive. I saw how I was
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't surviving. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, fresh out of college. And I saw that sometimes I was maybe thinking that maybe I was missing out on something, or maybe I was going the wrong track. And the reason is because fresh out of college, even to now, um, it's kind of I'm not in the crowd. So most people are at work. I look at a lot of data as a mortgage branch manager and as an insurance branch manager, and what I'm seeing is most Americans, they're at work. So it was kind of different for me because I already made a lot of money and I didn't have to go to work. So I'm at my houses or I'm running my business while everybody's at work my age. Then when they get off work, they're like in a new life now, a life that I wasn't used to seeing. They were like, some people might have started some families and maybe about 5 or 6 years after college, or now people were talking about debt. People were having distractions that I'd never seen before and I wasn't experiencing. So I started asking questions, and then I started seeing, oh, okay, the rent is high. So, you don't make that much at your job. Or you make a lot at your job. You went to college with me. Maybe you make a lot at your job.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're living somewhere far away from where you grew up. And now you You don't understand finances. You just got a nice job. You don't understand finances and you're complaining
Mhm.
about your debt, your insurance costs, your car and your car insurance. So I just start just seeing that people were going through things that I wasn't going through. And
Mhm.
that's why I started saying, like, am I missing something? And it wasn't just that. It's like not being around the crowd and always being around people as a young man. Now I'm around people double my age. So my peers, it's like we like eventually started like going totally different lives. The distractions and the bills and the expenses and the family, I feel like took them into a life of survival. And I was
Mm.
traveling and I was, investing and I was assisting others in the community with resources and solving problems and bringing solutions. And, I'm still seeing my parents. And, I just started seeing that things just wasn't the same. And
Mm.
I didn't want to go to join the crowd. I
Okay.
missed the crowd. I missed having the friends, but I didn't want to go and be with be with them. Like it didn't seem like they were having much fun anymore, you know.
Mm.
So those things, I don't know if I explained that correctly, but it's kind of my thinking on how things came about. So as I began assisting people with real estate, I started hearing their other challenges.
Mhm.
I also know that the things that made me successful were being able to control the mortgage, find my own real estate, and not have to depend on a real estate agent that barely wanted to work or that wanted to only sell me a high price property for their commission instead of my goals. And the
Mhm.
same is for insurance. When I understood that sometimes my mortgage cost was a little higher than it's supposed to be, and it was
Mhm.
because of the insurance. And I saw that when I learned how to shop for insurance the real way, I saw that my mortgage was going down and down and down, whether I bought a vacant property, whether I bought a property with a tenant, whether I bought my own houses that I lived in. I saw that I was able to find insurance that was not on the television advertising to me, was not on the cell phone.
Mhm.
They were reputable insurance carriers. And when I put all these things together, it just helped me to really build wealth. And
Mhm.
I always like to talk about the word wealth, the definitions of things. My mom and my uncle are big on words and meanings. And
Okay.
as a child, I always like to read and know what words mean. And
Mhm.
I always know that wealth isn't just money. It
Mm.
might include money, but
Right.
wealth is your time, wealth is your health, wealth is money, wealth is your joy.
Mm.
And it goes back to your initial question, how did I start? Why did I start doing these things? Is because I started seeing people as soon as we got grown, it just did not seem like they were having much fun. And I never really seen them again. Like it's like they went into the black hole. Like, and then, I look at data or I might run into them or give them a call because I always like to check up on people. But just even the fact of people not communicating no more because they have other obligations or distractions or drama or stresses, all of those things kind of helped me start my businesses. Of course it was me buying my own property, seeing how I'm building my portfolio, seeing how I'm
Mhm.
having no problems with insurance at all, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, all of my buildings insurance, whether it's a vacant property, whether it's a condo, I'm having really no issues. But then when I talk to someone that I haven't seen in a long time, or most of my clients are double my age. So when I talk to an elder or when I go to the church, I'm
Mhm.
still hearing the same problems. When I turn on the television, I'm still hearing the same problems. And then my friends, my peers that never had a complaint really,
Right.
now they're sounding the same. So I said, okay, well, not only can I assist myself, but I should be able to use these resources and this knowledge to stop people from perishing.
Mm.
And the reason that I said stop people from perishing is because I read the ancient texts, many of them, and it says that the lack of knowledge will cause you to perish.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, if I bring knowledge and if I focus on myself first, if I have knowledge and I use it, because having knowledge and not using it is futile. So
That's true.
if I can have knowledge and use it,
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to be a living example.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a spokesman, I'm not a motivational speaker, and I'm not a salesman either. Even though I have products to sell, I'm an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw that many people had salespeople. Many people were starting to have troubles and problems as they grew a family, as they
Mm-hmm.
broke apart a family. Since I know also the data says that it's a 50-50 ratio in this union thing going on in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw that it was a lot of things again that I also knew and had time to research, because not only am I a licensed advocate, but it's because when I wake up in the morning, I wake up in joy and I control my day and I'm living and not surviving. So someone that's not doing that, they have to wake up, maybe they eat, maybe they don't. They have to take care of children or just themselves. Then they have to go to work and work for someone else. And now they don't get to do work for themselves until after they get off work. And now most salespeople are closed by 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't
Right.
have time to talk to you. They don't have time to research for you. They're only wanting their commission. And that means that they need something quick, fast, and easy, or they need to just have you click on something and just buy it because the company is great and you heard of the company. And in the real estate business, in the mortgage business, and the insurance business, I continue to see the wealth gap increase. My clients that are in the wealthy neighborhoods or the low income neighborhoods continue to have money leaks. They continue to not have proper protection. They
Mm-hmm.
continue to not have access to capital, insurance products, and resources that fit their scenario and tailor made desires, needs, and wants.
And that's where you come in and you help your clients to find the services that match their specific needs based on what's going on in their lives. Correct?
Exactly. And since
Okay.
you asked me about, how I started, that's the only reason I started talking about real estate and mortgage. I
Oh
was
no, that's
only on insurance.
okay. That's fine. That's fine. So you said some great stuff, and one of the things that just stood out to me when you were talking is how you research. You said that you did a lot of research when you were getting started. And so I'm sure you continue to do research and you understand what's going on in today's climate where prices are going up, including the premiums of health insurance and life insurance. So tell me how you work with your clients to make sure that they can get um, insurance coverage that helps not only services their needs, but also is beneficial to their pockets.
Well, great question. And the answer to your question is the research. I stay up
Mm-hmm.
to date. I have a team. I have employees in every single industry, in every single branch,
Mm-hmm.
and I hire staff. Most of my staff are older than me, and they have different tasks. I don't overburden them. They have focused, laser beam tasks. So sometimes I have people doing research. I'm always researching because if I'm the owner and I'm not gonna lead and show people what to do, then I can't trust my employees to do research. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's my company and my ideas. So I know why we're here. I know that it's just not just about money. So the research is really big. And the reason why it's really big and I'm focusing on that as the answer to your question is because that's how I help people, because there's a lot of things that people just don't know about because they have salesmen. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people that I've seen since I became a grown person, and then as soon as I became an owner, I see that people trust the big names. But then when they get hurt, they don't trust the big names anymore. And it's like, well, why did you have to get hurt to realize that you might have needed other options. But I'm young, and like I said, most of my clients are double my age. So I've been hearing the complaints about these certain carriers or certain corporations because I've been hearing certain people complain about these things since I was a child. So it's like, so why are you still going there? And then I'm still hearing the complaints. So that's
Mhm.
another reason why I started, because again, you can the maybe the word is complaints. My friends, I
Right.
heard, having challenges and complaints and struggles and high rent and high debt, and maybe somebody might go to the hospital and spend too much money, and they didn't know about something that was not health insurance that could have helped them. But the research of what's available, what did the person just say, and not being a salesperson. If I work at one
Mhm.
company, I didn't want to work at one company because if they don't have the product that you need, not only did I just waste my time, because it's not like it's easy to find customers if you're not a big name, if I'm not walking around and saying, well, I'm this big name company and I'm working in their call center as a W-2 employee at their 800 number, when the TV commercial comes on, it's like it's a sales job. So I didn't want to come to the community or a business owner or individual that I'm servicing with limited products. And that's sometimes what the big name companies bring. They bring their product. An example I
Mhm.
always like to say, because I do the same thing in all the industries, I bring research and multiple products, not just
Okay.
one carrier. I always like to say people have been going to McDonald's asking for pizza and then
Mm.
accepting the answer of the cashier saying, there's no pizza that exists here, just because they don't sell pizza. And then the person that's on the other side kind of convinces themselves, because of the bold answer from the cashier, they convince themselves that maybe there isn't any pizza. And it's like, no, you're just at the wrong place. Like, why don't you go to the buffet? So I bring a buffet, you know.
Okay. Yeah, so you actually are pivoting into the question I want to ask next, which is for someone that's listening right now, how do they know if they are underinsured or overpaying for coverage?
A free review. And what is the scenario? Like you said, how do I help people? I research and then it's scenario based. So if it's a business, what does the business need? Do they have 3 employees or more? Do they have 20 employees? Is it just themselves? Do they need workers' compensation? Did they shop for workers' compensation? Do they have a salesperson that's only working for the commission? Because if you come to us, we're advocates. So now I have 50 workers' compensation companies that pop up on my computer. If I know your budget and I know, well, you're struggling with the cost and you also need employee benefits package to help your employees, I'm gonna look at the prices and say, okay, well, we got, if it's, let's say it's a restaurant, I have $20,000, but I also have pay as you go workers' compensation that I could probably get to you for $5,000.
Mhm.
Most people won't ever know about the $5,000 policy
Mm.
because they just cut their commission by telling you about it. Why would they tell you about that when they can tell you about the 20,000 and get more money? So
Mm.
that's how I came into the industry, by giving you the option of being able to choose what's available on the market and not my limited company, because I chose not to work for one company. I chose to get a lot of companies and bring them under one umbrella, because I wanted to get into business and not just chase money. I wanted to get money and be successful, and then be able to be a resource and help people to increase the quality of their lives and decrease some of these bad data points that I know about, like the wealth gaps, like the senior citizens losing their houses, like the people having problems with their expenses, like people being denied for mortgages. And some people don't even talk about a non-mortgage related issue, which is they can't save their money because they can't save the money because their insurance keeps going up. So, and it has nothing to do with house. Their auto insurance might have went up. Their life insurance might have went up. Someone might have left the family and they didn't have life insurance. So now instead of them having a home free and clear, they're going to go fund me. They
Mm-hmm.
could have came to me for $30 and had a free paid off house because of a mortgage insurance policy. So it's all case by case scenarios, but I listen to their scenario and I see what do you need. If it's overpriced, then why do you think it's overpriced? Or sometimes they don't know it's overpriced, so I give a free review. Recently, I had a contractor who had a issue with a surgery for his wife, and also he needed issues with therapy. The surgery for his wife was going to be a reoccurring thing that they already knew about, but they had time to prepare. So she
Mm-hmm.
just had a surgery, but she knew she would be needing one in at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So now, one way I help them to reduce costs is by adding a cost. Some people don't know the difference between price and cost. They go for the lower price, and in the long run, because they wanted to go with the lower so-called cheaper price, they ended up with a higher cost when they should have just chose the lower cost.
Can
And what
you break that down to a little more like basic terms between price and cost? Because I think I know what you're talking about, and tell me if this is what you are saying. So let's say, um, like you said, people will look at the lowest price, but out of pocket, long term, the cost is more. Is that what
yes,
you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
yes, and I can give you an example as far as the salespeople and advocate scenario that I give.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I might say, well, do you have a dental plan? Someone might say, yes. I say, well, I have a dental plan that, depending on I'll get their age. I'll say, okay, it's $40. They'll say, okay, well, I found something. Now they went and found something,
Mm-hmm.
maybe off of a TV commercial,
Right.
coupon, a salesperson that just works for one company, and they
Mm-hmm.
got something for $25. So they beat me. They beat me by $5 or $10. So
Mm-hmm.
now they need to go and have a tooth pulled next week. The plan that they bought, they have a waiting period.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So now if they go early, they're penalized.
Right.
My plan, they could have went tomorrow and started their procedure. Or
Mm-hmm.
they got that plan for $25 or $20 and they get to the doctor and they says, well, this is a dentist example, for instance. And he says, well, you have a root canal, you need two fillings. I also need to give you an exam,
Mm-hmm.
$400. If I get the itemized sheet, they charged $100 for every exam. If I said $400,
Mm-hmm.
if I showed you my itemized sheet on my plan that was $10 more, or however much more it was, $5, now you'll see that mine was $200 because the exam was free. You didn't get penalized for going early because you could have went the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe you have, depending on what plan I sold you, because I'm listening to your scenario and your life based need. Depending on what you told me, I got you something with a higher budget per year. The one that you got for $20 is 1,500. Mine's is 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now you saved $5 or $10, but you costed yourself thousands later
Right.
because
Right.
you see what I'm saying. So it's just, I always like to listen to the person's need. They might have 5 employees, and they say, "Man, I'm getting hit hard on taxes, and I need to be able to have something to reduce my tax burden, and I'm also losing employees, and I don't know why I can't hire." I help self-employed business owners, and I also help small business owners, and I help executives at corporations to issue their benefits packages. So
Mm-hmm.
now what that does is I show them different ways that they can chip in on the cost of the dental, life, health, insurance plans, and that portion that they gives them a tax deduction.
Mm-hmm.
Some are giving limited option, high cost health insurance plans to their employees. They're not letting them shop. I show
Mm-hmm.
them multiple plans, also have short term policies. Now, when you have the option of contributing to a lower cost plan, I also have marketplace access, but some people make a lot of money and they need to be assisted with non marketplace policies. So
Mm-hmm.
now, when you're contributing in a group or when you're just helping your employees with costs, you get the write off. You also get to offer employees benefits maybe you weren't offering them before. Maybe they didn't have a $30 dental plan. Maybe they couldn't go to the doctor tomorrow. Maybe they couldn't get dentist or contact lenses or glasses. Now you
Mm-hmm.
just assisted them with getting a vision plan for contact lenses for $6. You didn't understand because maybe you didn't have time, or maybe you're doing what the average corporation is doing and just slapping something on the desk of someone and saying sign up with HR, who is the same people that fire people, and expecting people to really be happy to talk to HR about a health plan when they might not even have a good relationship at all, and they're maybe not the happiest of people. And it's just one company option, and I just need you to sign up or just waive your options so you can get back to work. That's really not a happy, nurturing environment for you to learn about all of your options when your boss is giving you something. That's what I've
Right.
seen. Also, I've also seen that you don't know your options. You had one package put on your desk, and that's it. So when you don't have an array of options and when you're not explained things,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty hard for you to make a educated decision. So I help the business owners to not only have a tax write-off, but also look good because we're talking to the employees on site or off site. If they need us to sign them up off of work
Mm-hmm.
hours, that's fine. But we're having a conversation with them, and we're helping them. And that help that they receive makes the boss look good because sometimes, let's just say you had to have a surgery, you tripped and fell. Do you really want to hear, well, you know what, that didn't happen at work? Like, now do you realize that you're working for people that really don't care about you? Or now you say, you know what, hey, I tripped and fell. Oh, did you forget? Call your insurance advocate. That policy that he presented to you, you're going to make some money off of hurting yourself. And not only do I get defended off of a possible claim if you were at work, I help the owners avoid workers' compensation claims if you did have an injury at work because you helped the employee with a nice package. Maybe they'll remember that and they'll just use their package that you helped them with. Or if they weren't at work, maybe they got upset when they had to pay all these hospital bills and they started looking for another job because they realized they didn't have benefits and they had to pay $5,000 for getting hurt on Saturday, and it really hurt their financial life. So they say, you know what, I need some better benefits. And
Right.
if you had to just offered them a $30 plan, it would have covered her ankle injury.
Yeah. So I know that several of my listeners are federal employees because, as you know, I'm in the DC area. And with the health insurance and life insurance that is offered through federal employment, they do have an array of plans that they could select from. However, the HR specialists are not going to be the subject matter experts on every plan, right? And so normally an employee will pick up, the brochure and look at the information if they can, or they might pick something that they know or heard about. Either they were given a recommendation by a coworker or something, or they're like, oh, I know Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm going to take Blue Cross Blue Shield. I had Blue Cross Blue Shield at my other job, or I had Aetna at my other job, and I'm just going to continue that, not realizing that the services that are offered for private sector can be much different than what's offered under the federal government.
Yes.
With that being said, um, how do you make sure that when you are talking to the employees or an individual, right? Because an individual can come to you and say, this is what I have. I don't want to lose it because it's through my employer. Um, what can you do to help me supplement what I might need because it's not covered in the services? You use the dentist as a great example. They might have coverage, but yet they still need supplemental coverage. So, how do you work with individuals who might be looking for something to supplement what they already have?
Going back to your first great question, research. So we
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, and then we have a quote generator, like they can see it on the insuranceplaza.com. I mean
Mm-hmm.
.org, insuranceplaza.org. They go to whatever they're looking for, whatever insurance they're looking for. We have quote generators. When they enter their information, we know their zip code, we know their
Mm-hmm.
name, and then we get their needs. We get back to them with quotes, tailor-made quotes specific to what they need. We give them a conversation also to make sure that we're fitting their needs, their prices, their budget for their zip code. Everything is basically zip code specific. So when someone is saying that I'm a federal employee, for instance, like you said, and I'm worried about a gap maybe, or I don't have enough,
Mm-hmm.
we don't just present to them one company. We say, well, what do you need? They tell us, or maybe they don't know. So we say, like for instance, if someone is saying, well, I'm worried about getting injured. I saw someone get injured and they didn't seem to be okay. They didn't seem to have enough money while they were injured and away from work. So I'll ask them, do you have disability insurance? Do you have a plan that will cover your bills and your mortgage and your car note and your children's college and your
Mm-hmm.
food if you were in the hospital? And I can always get them a plan that covers injuries, sickness, or their expenses. I help them with shopping different carriers. You mentioned one carrier, which of course we have them, but I help them to, when they put in their information in our quote generators, I help them to find carriers that sometimes they don't know about. Like it's certain insurance carriers on the property insurance market, on the health insurance market that do not market to customers. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I put a flyer up that I have right now of one of my carriers and I say, hey, and I'm talking about a plan, I say, okay, matter of fact, I'm getting ready to think of some benefits on a plan. Um, you know, no waiting period. I have a flyer up with their phone number, no waiting
Mm-hmm.
period. Next day dental fillings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you get injured, you receive up to $1,000 per day while you're in the hospital into your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Now you called the number. They would say, "Well, how did you find out about us?" Okay. Oh, so you have to find an agent. Have you seen one before? We don't talk to the public. So
Mm-hmm.
now if there's corporations out there that do not serve the public, and if you don't have a salesperson in your community, how do you find these products?
Mm-hmm.
If it's
Right.
just the product that you only trust on your television that you have heard of or that's on your cell phone, how do you find the many different insurance carriers that are available in America
Mm-hmm.
and internationally that would love to get your business, but you don't know about their advertisements and you've never heard of them? So that's what we do. We bring the market. So we have the company that you named, but we listen to what they need. We say, oh, well, you might need a higher allowance, like the dental insurance. Some of the plans come with a $1,500 max for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know that you're getting two root canals and you're a senior citizen and you need an implant, then $1,500 isn't going to do anything for you. So I need to get you to the five or the $10,000 annual plan.
Mm.
So that's a conversation. That's not just a cookie cutter limited box option. Pick one, two, or three, like they do in
Right.
sales school. So
Right.
we don't really practice the sales school thing because we're here to really help them. So we're bringing what maybe they don't know to ask about. That's why we just get the zip code. We get the zip
Okay.
code, your age. What do you need? I need life insurance. Okay, so the big companies or who might have marketed to you might not give you a policy if you had a heart attack. So now
Mm.
I have a policy for you with a heart attack. I have a policy for you and you just had congestive heart failure. But if you go to the big companies, they'll say, well, no, we can't help you with that. Are you serious?
So yeah, so that's great that some of your companies accept um, new clients with pre-existing conditions because that can really stop people from getting health insurance as well as life insurance. But I
Yes.
want to ask this one last thing for right now, anyway, on the health insurance side. Do you do that same research and getting to know your clients when it comes to those that are on Medicare?
Yes. Well, I'm also a part of a not for profit that has a housing, an economic, and a health ministry, and it has a senior ministry. So I
Hmm.
also volunteer some of my time into the health ministry for the seniors. So I have
Hmm.
a special department that's dedicated to seniors. So we help seniors with their mortgages, we help seniors with their insurance, we help seniors with housing also, with as far as
Okay.
purchasing and selling their real estate. And a
Hmm.
part of the ministry for insurance is for property insurance
Hmm.
because seniors on a fixed income, the property insurance has started skyrocketing in places like Maryland, DC, Florida, California, Texas, and the places that we are, Illinois as well.
Hmm.
And so we help them with their property insurance, their Medicare insurance. We help them with their Medicare Advantage. We have a savings plan that helps them reduce the cost of Medicare Advantage. We also give them alternatives to Medicare Advantage. We have PPO programs where seniors that travel don't get dinged for leaving the network of a PPO. All you're out of state, but you had to go in for therapy in Texas, but you're from Florida. Now
Hmm.
you have insurance, but you're not in the network. You're in the
Right.
PPO network, but you left state to see your daughter and your son.
Hmm.
No more of that. You can just travel and have fun. Something accidentally happened to you. No penalties for something happening to you because you still have the same company, but you're in a different state or zip code. We also have international programs. So with the seniors, the international program helps them because they go on cruises and also help the expats. So they live in other countries sometimes. So I really like to focus on the whole senior life,
Hmm.
everything about a senior. If they're lower income, if they're middle income, if they're higher income, everything about a senior, how I can assist them with their fixed income costs. And that Medicare Advantage, it's really gone up. It's a big benefit. We have Medicare Advantage, of course, many different companies, many different carriers, depending on your
Uh-huh.
zip code. But that has gone up a lot, and we have alternatives to help the seniors take advantage of cost sharing as well as alternatives to the Medicare Advantage program, which brings them a tremendous savings. Over the average is about, depending on the state and the county, average savings of about $150 to $250 on the Medicare Advantage program, and we're bringing the savings to the seniors.
Wow. Wow, that is great. That is great. And we all know that, some of our seniors are not able to afford a lot of their medical expenses. So being able to have additional coverage that is not, a burden to them financially is a great thing. So let's now pivot on to the life insurance
Mhm.
portion of it because, like I mentioned, a lot of times, um, there are companies that don't accept people, especially seniors, that have pre-existing conditions,
Oh yeah.
or there's some type of, like you said, there's some type of waiting period. I'm use myself as an example. A couple of examples I have for myself. So one, I have a pre-existing condition,
Hmm.
and I have been denied life insurance because I have a pre-existing condition. Now, you can't look at me to see you have a pre-existing condition, but you can't look at somebody and know that they have high blood pressure or diabetes or congenital heart failure. And so that has, like I said, limited me from getting insurance. But I had insurance in my employment that I was able to carry over into now my retirement.
Hmm.
In addition, when my dad was living, I got insurance for him.
Hmm.
It was burial insurance.
Yes.
And then what I didn't know is that there was a 2-year period
Yes.
that if he died of certain conditions, they would not pay. And that
Yes.
is exactly what happened. I did not
Yes.
know that. And you know what? And that was my fault because we'd always read the information that they give us. So I signed him up, didn't read it, and it didn't pay.
Yes.
So, how do you make sure that um, people like myself, for getting coverage for either ourselves because we have pre-existing conditions, or making sure that even a loved one can avoid that, like you mentioned it before, going to GoFundMe and having to deal with a GoFundMe situation?
Well, your situation, I've heard plenty of times exactly the story you just said with your father. That's a graded policy. I've helped people with that plenty of times. What I see is it's it's like a 50-50 situation. That's why I like to do research and bring many products to the people and not be salespeople at my company, but advocate. It's like a 50-50. Sometimes the customer wants something cheap and
Mhm.
fast. Sometimes the agent wants to make a nice commission off that graded policy, and they didn't educate you. They just said that it's a death policy, or it's a burial policy, or it's a final expense policy, and it's a
Mhm.
nice commission policy. That's what I've seen from my limited experience, as far as me being a young man, because that's an older policy for seniors or for children. Anyone can buy it. But that's what I've seen. People don't explain it. They sell it. They don't take time. Like, even if you didn't read it, when I sold the policy to you, I would have told you, hey, if something happens, that's just easy right there. If something happens within 1 year, this is what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
What do you
Mhm.
mean? Well, it's a graded policy. And then the reason that you have a graded policy is because obviously it's a condition, or it's a high age. So
Right.
now, so now, well, because this is the condition or this is the age, if this or this or this happens, I just need you to know that you have coverage. But if this happens in this date, then this happens. And if it goes 2 years, then this and this and this happens. So I make sure that I always educate people and ask them, do they understand? That's one way I help avoid that. I help people avoid the pre-existing condition issue by having policies and carriers that don't care about pre-existing conditions and issues.
Mm.
Again, I loved your question, so I just keep going back to it. Research,
Mhm.
bring something different to the industries. Like you asked me about mortgages and real estate. We research. That's how I became successful. I know a lot of things, and I have a staff and a team of underwriters. My
Mhm.
underwriters are all senior level, over 25 years experience, processing teams, underwriters. We research. So I have a lot of different companies, not just one or two, that I have maybe a list of 15 products.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. They don't care about pre-existing conditions. Now, sometimes, of course, the prices are different. The costs are different. They're higher depending on what type of pre-existing condition we're talking about and how long ago it was. But I just try to research a lot of different issues and challenges that a family, a business owner could have. Because if a business owner is having a problem with turnover, and I say, "Hey, did you know that you can offer this to your employees?" That makes him look fantastic because now he's offering something to the employee that she or he really needed, or their children really needed on the health plan. So now I'm bringing just different things to the business owner to offer to the employees, and then just an individual. It's like, well, did you know that this woman had cancer and she's having a problem with checkups, prescription drugs, and she seems to go to the hospital like maybe 3 days every other year. But that 3 days every other year is costing her $2,300 because she hasn't hit her deductible yet. And I
Mm-hmm.
really want to go in on that if you just remember that one part, just in case I forget. She hasn't hit her deductible yet. I don't want to forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because this is a person that has insurance. So now I give you a plan that someone told you that you can't get, or someone never even offered it to you because they know that you have a pre-existing condition, maybe, or they just don't have the plan because you're at McDonald's looking for a pizza. So now you had cancer, and now you're spending all this money for therapy. You don't know that you don't have a problem with pre-existing conditions. You're just at the wrong salesperson. You're at the wrong carrier. So now
Mm-hmm.
I show you something that either you got it before the condition ever came, or you have it after the condition. And now every time you go to therapy or a follow-up checkup and they say, well, it's $50, you receive the check from my office through the underwriter for $125. So you made $75 profit. Now, when you go to the hospital that 2 times every year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
you receive $1,000 every single day that you're in the hospital.
Mm.
Your deductible is $2,000. So now the average American is having a problem with having $5,000 in their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
That's your deductible.
Right.
Let's just say it's
Right.
2,500. If it's not 5,000, that's half of the so-called wealth gap statistics for the average American just to pay your
Yeah.
deductible. So now I gave you
Yeah.
this plan for $40, and now it paid your bills. It paid you to go to the hospital if you stayed there for a day or two or seven or 50.
Mm-hmm.
And now you couldn't have got that because you asked the so-called average salesperson and they said, well, you know what, you don't qualify because you have a pre-existing condition. So you just missed out on all those savings. So we have a whole department focused on pre-existing conditions for final expense, for
Mm-hmm.
senior citizens, and for the individual under 65, children and athletes, because they get hurt a lot. And we have pre-existing condition coverages for them.
Okay, great. So we have a comment in the chat asking about they would like to discuss Medicare insurance. But what I want our listeners to do is to put the questions exactly what you want to ask in the chat so we can answer those questions. And we also want you to share this information. We only got about 10 minutes left. So we want to make sure that we can get as many people online so they can hear this great information that Rashad Carmichael is providing. So make sure that you write your questions, type them in the chat, and we will definitely address them. Also, I've been putting up on the screen, and I'm gonna put it up again on how you can contact Rashad directly. You can call him, and he does say he don't take text messages. He will actually answer your phone call, or
Okay.
you can check out his website, and then he will get in touch with you and follow up to see exactly what it is that your needs are. So
Sorry,
as
I
we are
missed.
waiting,
I'm sorry, I missed that. I overlooked that. You asked
okay.
me earlier. I missed it though. It's theinsuranceplaza.org. Sorry.
Okay, all right, no
Yeah.
worries. We'll make that correction. But everybody heard that. It's theinsuranceplaza.org. And it's on the screen. It's been on the screen the whole time right here under his name.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But you typed it in as well. So make sure that you are capturing the information, but type into the chat your question. So while we're waiting for that, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how the companies that you work with also work with Medicare in order to make sure that their participants are receiving the proper coverage.
Well, with Medicare, I have a lot of different coverages. We cover the different parts A, B. All of those D. We have all of the parts, and we have the Medigaps. We have Medicare Advantage, and we really focus on savings. I just know a lot of seniors because we're talking about Medicare. I know a lot of seniors on fixed incomes, so I just like to focus on if something happened, because I also realize that most people they don't think about they don't think about things fully. They
Mm-hmm.
don't think from A to Z, and it's dangerous, if I should use that word, when we're talking about insurance, and I'm going to explain that too. When we don't think about things A to Z, when we're talking about Medicare, especially when we're in a fixed income, it's dangerous
Mm-hmm.
because I walk up to you and I say, "Hello, ma'am. I would like to help you with your Medicare insurance." Or, "Hello, sir. I would like to help you with your Medicare insurance." Well, I already have that. I'm not interested. Okay. So now, did you have your gaps covered? That's the thing that I like to see. We already have it, but are we fully covered like a car?
Well, how do they know if they have a gap?
By free consultation or free review?
Mm-hmm.
Because see, the A to Z part, they have insurance. So they
Uh-huh.
say, "Oh, I don't need anything." But let's think about this. You're walking down the street one day, you trip and fall in the middle of the street. You see a car coming. You start crawling out the way from the car so you don't really get hurt bad.
Right.
But you sprung your ankle. You get up, you start walking again. You just sprung your ankle though, so now you got to get back home.
Mm-hmm.
You go to sleep, you wake up, see if you can shake it off. You can't shake this one off. Sprung ankle. Maybe you have a part-time job, maybe you don't. So now you say, "You know what? This thing starting to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even drive." So now what are you going to do? You're going to call somebody. They're not available. So now you're going to call the ambulance. $1,200 maybe. That's
Mm-hmm.
not a part of your insurance. You have to pay that out of your deductible. So now the senior or even under 65, they said that they had health insurance and they were okay and they didn't need my assistance maybe. But now they realize that they had to pay that $1,200 for the ambulance. Now they get to the hospital. Now they sit there for 18 hours in a long line. So now they finally get there. The cast, they're gonna need a cast. That's $700. They have to pay that. They haven't met their deductible. Remember that other scenario earlier? They haven't met their
Mm-hmm.
deductible. So they have to pay that too. So now that happened on the 15th of the month. In 15 more days, what happens? They
That's a
have
new
to pay,
one.
they have to pay another bill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They didn't prepare for that on the fixed income. They prepared to pay one bill that month at the beginning of the month. They didn't prepare to pay an ambulance bill for a deductible that they didn't meet. They didn't prepare to pay for hospital 18-hour stay. If they had a job, they missed that day of part-time work because they were in the hospital. If they weren't at work, they just sit in the hospital, but they spent their fixed income check on that cast, on that ambulance to meet their deductible. and then they
Right.
just spent some more money on the next 15 days when that next monthly payment came. So
Right.
now, if they had thought it out A to Z,
Mm-hmm.
they would have had a free consultation and they would have known that if that happened, hey, look, this is going to pay for your ambulance. If you have a job, so what? You don't get that paycheck that day. Do you normally get $550 for the day or $1,000 for the day? Do you? No. Oh well, look,
So so
you missed work.
basically, so basically, Rashad, what you're saying, from what I'm hearing, is that someone can come to you with what they currently have, like whatever their health insurance they have, if they just have health insurance, or um, if they have health insurance and Medicare, and you can sit down with them and show them the gaps. And one thing I will say, I know that I've always heard retirees are on a fixed income, but if you work a salary job, then your income is still fixed.
Yes.
Okay, your income is still fixed. So a lot of people have fixed incomes, whether they're retired or not, because
Yeah.
it just, you know, it's just based on the type of work you do. If you get overtime, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm just saying, as a former federal employee, my salary was fixed like
Yes.
every other federal employee. I didn't get overtime a lot, but some
Yeah.
people did. But it just amazed me because as a retiree, I don't want to say that my salary is, my income is fixed, because I do have the capability of making, additional income.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that I have to go out and work. It means that I just have to find avenues to make different income. So that's just my 2 cents with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. A to
I,
Z. A to Z. The whole thing. If you miss a package, I could have sold you for $30. I could have got
right.
you something for $40 that would have paid you $5,000 this week. You could have used that for your
So
bills.
let me ask you this. So since we were talking about seniors, we're talking about Medicare, right? So the money that you saying that comes in, that's not considered income to them, is it?
No. No.
Okay, so it's just money based on the insurance that you, or the insurance plan that they have.
Yes. Yes. No, that's
Okay.
not. No, it's a part of a policy. I also have care policies for. I also have whole strategies for people that's trying to take care of their parents.
Okay.
I think it's a problem that we go to five people to get one solution. That's why I have things kind of in house and have multiple options. And how we started off, you asked me, how did I start? Because I show people how to have a whole solution to their life. When they're complaining, they're not just complaining about a house, they're complaining about
Hmm.
the insurance on the house and the
Hmm.
financing on the house that's insured. So now, if I go
Right.
to a salesperson that's worried about his commission on my insurance, does he really care about giving me the best budget price insurance and shopping? And sometimes he can't shop. He's at McDonald's and I'm asking for a pizza. He can't shop. He has one company. So
Hmm.
now he's gonna tell me that, well, I'm A+ rated and I've been here 100 years. Okay, but you don't have the policy prices and budget for me that I need for this property that's financed. So now I go to the financer and then they need a commission. And I do too. But now they
Hmm.
say a bad choice for only the mortgage. And now the realtor needs money too. And they want to keep everything high. So now you need one solution and three people just told you three different things. Or they work together for their commission and it has to be nice. So now that means that you paid a lot.
Hmm.
Three different people telling you all this stuff. So now I need
Right.
to help my mom, or I'm the senior. I need to help my children. I need to help myself and my children. Or I'm the child. I need to help my parents. Okay, well look, if something happens, are all of you guys' savings protected? If something happens to you, is your savings protected? If something happens to you, mom, is your home protected? You didn't die either. But if you did
Right.
die, then this happens.
So you know what? It sounds like we're going to need to have you come back and talk about that part because we were talking about health insurance and life insurance today, but I know you have a plethora of ways that help people, whether it's real estate, insurance, um, and mortgages and things like that. So we can have a part two, and you can
Yeah.
come back and talk about how to make sure that people are protecting their assets, making sure that they might be able to get reductions on their mortgage insurance. You had mentioned that. So, because sometimes, especially if you're a new homeowner, you don't think about the mortgage insurance. You might go to your car insurance company and they do, um, well, they'll do property insurance too. But even with that, is that still what you are, the best for you as a person?
Yeah, we
And
have more than 60 carriers. We have more than 60 carriers. We're always adding carriers. There's international carriers that we add for our traveling people, our expats, our foreign nationals that don't even live in America. We have a lot of tailor-based, scenario-based products for insurance. And the reason why I start talking about the other things that's mixed in is because recently I go to hospital visits. I deliver checks to you when you're in the hospital.
mm,
Sometimes I'm helping you pay your deductible because of a plan that I helped you with. I'm helping you pay your mortgage. And if you didn't have the plan, you would be worried about your mortgage while you're in the hospital. So sometimes I'm in a lot of hospitals all across the country because
okay.
I'm their advocate. The reason why I tied that together is because sometimes what I see with a senior, sometimes the next steps for them is to leave the hospital and go home or go home from an assisted living facility that they don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Family doesn't really have the finances together, and they could have had that senior in a house if they had the right product knowledge. Now,
Okay.
instead of them doing that, they might be clearing out a bank account, selling a house that they could have kept if they had the right products that financed them correctly and that paid them instead of them losing their money because of an injury, a surgery, or an illness or a sickness. So
Right.
these products would have gave them a lump sum or a daily stipend or a monthly check to take care of the senior
Mm-hmm.
instead of them doing some other things that I'm seeing are historically being complained about, or when
Right.
seniors are not being taken care of, being taken care of properly or being treated correctly. I'm seeing ways that this person, because I go visit people in certain places, and they're getting up, walking around, watching TV, talking to me. So they're in this place because of an income problem, because they didn't understand real estate or something else, and
Well,
they couldn't
listen,
visit
Rashad,
their
I don't want you to give all the tips now because I don't want you to give all the tips now, but I do want to address this question that came into the chat. And basically, what our listener is saying is that they are applying for Social Security, and the Social Security representative told them that because they're retired and they just recently retired from federal service, that their Medicare will become the primary insurance, and their current coverage under Blue Cross Blue Shield will become their secondary. And they're just not clear on what that really means. So in about 2 minutes, can you explain what that means for this person?
well, I would have to do a policy review. I would need to see what they have from
Mm-hmm.
Blue Cross and what they have from Medicare. That's where I would start. I would look at what they have and I will look at what they have. Medicare, what you
Okay.
have, Blue Cross, what you have, and then I would educate you on it, which I don't understand. Why is that so hard for someone to do? You see what I'm saying? They're selling things, but people never understood what
Well,
they're buying.
Social Security is not going to do that. Social Security is not going to sit down and explain to them what they have compared to their actual plan because that's not their job. Their job is to explain Social Security, not
Right.
Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or GHA or any other um, health insurance plan that might be out there.
Yeah.
However, there are people like you, there are people like me who work with clients, that work with people who are educated in this and will be able to say, this is what these are the rules. Those are the rules when it comes to retiree, that when they are no longer working, whatever they had as an employee under their employer becomes a secondary when they are eligible and start receiving Medicare. Now, what you're saying is a deeper dive because you actually look at the plans and say, this is what Medicare is offering, this is what your insurance is offering. Medicare will pay first, and then your insurance will pay secondary, but then here are some gaps, is what I'm hearing that you would do. So, what I'm going to recommend is that our listener make sure that they capture this information. Take a picture of it or whatever it is to capture the information on the screen that's right now. Contact Rashad, and he will can sit down with you and go over it in more detail so you can have a clearer understanding.
Yeah. And the insurance plaza, you could call the insurance plaza toll free at 888-449-4977. That number goes to me at the office. You can call that number too. But I have a staff, you can always reach somebody and leave a voicemail so my secretaries can work. 888-449-4977. That's toll free and that's coast to coast.
All
But yeah,
right.
we get the
You
policy
service
view.
you service people all over the United States, and from what I understood, you mentioned something about if people are in other countries, you have plans for that as well.
Yes.
So that's great to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to schedule a part two, hopefully before the end of this month,
Yeah.
and we can come back and pick up on about the real estate and the other type of insurance that coverages that you offer. Because like I mentioned, April is financial literacy month, and we have to be financially literate on how we are spending our money, which includes health insurance, life insurance, real estate, and all the other things, investments that we are looking at, what's coming out of our pockets, because we know gas is high. I almost fainted the other day when I put in um, like $40 in my gas tank, and that was just a little less than one fourth. Getting from just a little bit past one fourth up to full, and I spent $40.
Yeah.
And I just was like, and I know other places are higher, but I just was too, it was too much for me. So, we try to keep money in our pockets and not fall, flying away. So again, I want to thank you, Rashad, for being with us today. Those of you who are listening, make sure that you are watching, like and subscribe to my channel, the Royalty Business Group, so you can be notified of upcoming episodes right before they drop. And you
Yes.
can be live with us so you can hear more, as well as our post or social media about upcoming events and episodes. So, again, thanks everyone, and you have a great evening.